There you go. So said it
All
for
right,
me.
sweet. All right. What's up, y'all? I'm Brian Hill with my boy Gavin Murphy, and we are the Bleacher Bros. We are starting a Big Three Sports podcast because we love all three sports. We want to talk all three sports. Now, we are probably going to be biased to in-season sports, but we still want to cover things during the off-season because all sports matter. We're about that equality out here. So, Gavin, I'm gonna turn it over to you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and introduce yourself to the audience, and I'll roll back after you.
Yeah, man. Appreciate it. You came to me with this idea and I thought, what better guy to do it with, being in the gym with you. And it just seemed like we always talked sports. We always were just cutting up, in between sets. But man, just, played baseball my entire life. Always enjoyed playing other sports, just didn't really do it competitively. And as I got older, got into college, started playing in college, I really started to fall in love with other sports and watching them and watching the professional sports, watching collegiate sports. And so one thing, man, is just, I love it. I love to hear other people's ideas, their thoughts. They might not think the same as me. And I think that's the beautiful part about the age that we live in, man, is, everybody gets to talk about what they think is right or wrong. And, you don't have to agree, but, hear that person out and, have a conversation about it. So I was really glad when you came to me with this idea, man.
For sure, for sure. So, where are you originally from, and where do you live now?
Yeah, man. So originally from Lakeland, Florida. I was born and raised down there. Kind of a simple connection for us, those Florida boys. Um, Moved kind of all around. I coached college baseball for a little bit, so I moved around a lot. But now I'm currently in the like Atlanta area, Sandy Springs, Georgia. And so up here, man, work brought me out here. Not coaching anymore. I'm working for a company doing some pond work and stormwater maintenance and stuff like that. But yeah, man, it's a great area. I went last night, watched the Hawks game, play the Pacers, great game. And so really happy where I'm at. Get to doing this, get to go see some stuff, get to go watch some games, which is always good. You get to see the stuff in person.
Sweet man. Yeah. Funny enough, uh, God, I don't remember how long ago now, but sometime last year, I think it was like spring of last year, you walked in the gym, and I think you like saw me like re-racking my weights a certain way. You were like, "Sports dude?" I was like, "Yeah." You were like, "Baseball?" I was like, "Yeah." And funny enough,
Yeah.
we're both from originally from Florida, and we met up in Olive Branch, Mississippi. Uh, both played college baseball, so we share a lot of that. Like I said, I played, all three sports in high school. Baseball was my passion, but I love all three sports. I'm 300 pounds now, but I'll still go out and hoop.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how well that'd go, but and I know you golf, so I'm trying to get in.
Oh yeah.
So I keep telling my son and Rod, we have a mutual friend, Rod from the gym, that I'm going to start getting out on the link soon. So I gotta loosen up, lose a little weight.
Oh
But
yeah, we gotta get some mobility in there, baby.
yeah. But for those of y'all who don't know, I'm just gonna say I live in West Tennessee, a little about an hour outside of Memphis. I'm originally from Orlando, Florida. Played college baseball up in West Tennessee here, and I personal train for a living. I coach people in person and online. Absolutely love what I do. I just love helping people, and I love talking sports. So we got this thing rolling. But man, if you're ready, we can go ahead and start getting some topics and
Yeah,
get this
man.
thing going. All
Yeah,
right,
let's kick it
so
off.
this past week was a big week with free agent moves, with some trades that have already gone down, and I know free agency officially opens up, and the new NFL season officially opens up tomorrow on Monday. So if you're watching this, we're recording this on Sunday, March 9th. So is there any notable trades or free agent moves that you've seen so far that have piqued your interest?
Yeah, man, there's a couple. There's a couple that I'm really curious to see. I think with the shift in kind of Washington with the Commanders right now, it's going to be really interesting to kind of see what happens there. I know that Trey Hendrickson is a guy that I think a lot of people are going to be keeping tabs on come Monday. And there's talking about like the Commanders and the Falcons being kind of like those two like front runners for him. if you're Cincy, man, I don't know. Like, I mean, I think we kind of think alike. Like, you got a good guy there. I mean, why not try to keep him? Like, he's kind of your backbone of your defensive line, and he's a top tier pass rusher. Um, so really interested on that one to see kind of how it all shakes out for him, where he lands. And then you got other people like DK. I mean, coming out of the blue with I want out. So that one's going to be, I think, really interesting. I know that the talk is right now, a lot of people see him in Pittsburgh with Mike Tomlin and opposite of George Pickens. But at the same time, I look at it like you got to have somebody to throw the ball to him. And, I don't even think, I mean, Rod would be a great one to tell us, but who are they going to put at the quarterback position? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even think they know that. And, you got to have somebody to get those guys the ball. And I think it's got to be a veteran. Um, to kind of do that and do it in a professional way and knows how to conduct themselves. So that one's going to be interesting. Those two are like my top two. We were talking before this. I know that Aaron Jones re-signed with the Vikings. He got him a deal, and I was telling
Oh,
you
yeah,
about Devontae Adams.
yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, I do with the Vikings. Which is another great point, man. Like, what do you think about Sam Darnold? Like, what's going on? Are they going with JJ? Or are they going to go with Sam? Like it's such a toss up out there.
Man, like I've been going back and forth on this, talking to guys in the gym, just talking to anybody who talks sports to me. Like, if you had asked me going into what was it, week 16,
Yeah,
I was like, man, they're like, I don't see how the Vikings don't bring back Sam Darnold. And maybe it's like a Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers thing. You give Sam Darnold, you know, 3-year deal, 2-year up front for sure. And you keep JJ in the wing. I mean, he had the knee injury and then he had a follow-up knee procedure. You saw the visuals of him on the sideline. He looked like he lost 20, 25 pounds. So I'm sure the knee injury probably affected his ability to work out and be mobile in general. Being in house, I'm sure he still learned a lot and got a lot of value. He looked great in preseason.
yeah,
But knowing Kevin O'Connell, I think he feels like he's a version of Kyle Shanahan where he probably thinks I'm the operator of this ship, and if I could just find somebody competent, like my offense is going to work. And he kind of showed that the year before because they had the coaching carousel when Kirk Cousins went out with the ACL last year. He
yeah,
had 4 different guys come in, and they all did an admirable job. So if I had to put my money on it right now, I would say they're going to keep JJ,
yeah,
let him be the man, run the charge. That's going to give them that young, inexpensive quarterback to grow with Jefferson and Addison and Hawkinson. Re-signing Jones is going to be. I mean, having a run game as a rookie quarterback, I guess he'll be a second-year guy, is pretty big deal. And they have two of the better tackles in the game too. I know one went
yeah,
down for the season this year. So if I had to guess with Sam Darnold, Seattle.
yeah,
I don't see him in New York. I think New York wants to draft a guy or maybe get. I saw reports today that they already don't mind Aaron Rodgers doing the whole Pat McAfee thing once a week. That doesn't bother them. So if I had to guess, Sam Darnold is honestly, I personally would like to see Sam Darnold in Pittsburgh. I know a lot of Steelers people like Justin Fields, and I think that'd be a good
yeah,
spot. But I like Sam. I mean, Sam Darnold's big 6'4" guy. He can move. He's smart. I think he's been through the whims. He's learned what it's been like to get his butt kicked in the league. So Seattle, and Pittsburgh are going to be my two probably top two locations for him, and we'll see how this plays out. If I had to guess, I'm guessing Sam Darnold's going to land his place by next Saturday at the latest because I bet
yeah.
whoever wants to get him is going to get him before the draft gets here.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. And it always poses the question, was he a one in like a fluke guy? Was it a
Yeah,
fluke season? But
yeah,
to have the success that he had, I think the biggest thing when I start thinking about Sam Darnold is he has to go somewhere, and I think Pittsburgh would be a great fit with Arthur Smith, and you saw what Arthur Smith
yeah.
did down there, or over there in Pittsburgh, and so it's one of those things, man. Like, I think if he goes somewhere where, and even another one that I don't think a lot of people are talking about that could be a sleeper for Sam Darnold is going to be the Browns.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, dude, Stefanski is an offensive mind. That guy can, I mean, he can do it. And, with what they had last year, with it was just, I mean, I feel like it's been the past 2 years with Deshaun, Jameis, but, you just hope that Darnold lands on his feet somewhere. Cause like you said, dude, he has been through, just ups and downs and you just hope that he lands on his feet somewhere. But yeah, those would probably be the guys that I'm kind of interested in to see kind of what happens. Um, and then we were talking about already stuff that's already happened prior to this first episode, and Debo to the Commanders,
yeah,
shocked. Like,
yeah,
but at the same time, like you look at it, it seems to be a fountain of youth over there in Washington right now with Zach Ertz,
yeah.
Austin Eckler. Like, is Debo going to go over there and have the fountain of youth with Jaden Daniels? And now, I mean, you know what I'm saying? And then imagine if they signed Trey Hendrickson. Like,
Yeah,
Commanders could be, they were scary last year.
yeah.
They get these extra couple pieces, they could be really
Well,
scary.
I tell you, I already won some money from a couple guys at the gym
Yeah.
because we got a lot of cowboy guys at our gym, and
Yep.
I was telling them, wow, I did think Caleb was going to have not necessarily the better year out of all the quarterbacks. I just thought he would have. I thought the Chicago Bears would have more wins, but I told him I really like Jaden, and don't be shocked if they find their way in the playoffs. And that was something I stood on all year, and that ended up coming to fruition. And just seeing how that division finished this year is I can see
Hmm.
it finishing very similar next year. Maybe not Philadelphia having back to back just completely dominant years because the NFL is so
Hmm.
hard and back to back years, but I still could see Commanders and Philly coming out of that division. Dallas being a 6-9 win team and maybe just missing the playoffs, and then the Giants being or the Cowboys, sorry, being a 6-8 win team, maybe 9 wins and still missing the playoffs, and then the Giants still probably being 2 years away,
Yeah.
unless maybe they do get an Aaron Rodgers and they use their first round draft pick on, you know, a good edge rusher or offensive tackle, and they can get, a quality running back to, furnish out. Because, the Giants, as bad of a year as they had, you could still see like Brian Dable still has made the playoffs there with Daniel
Yeah.
Jones throwing.
Yeah.
I think that year Daniel Jones had. I know for a fact he had 20 or less touchdowns and like 8 or 9 picks.
Yeah.
The playoffs as a wild card. So why can't he do that with Aaron Rodgers and Malik Neighbors?
Yeah, and I know that there were talks, I don't know if you saw those talks where they were talking about the Giants like trading up with the
Yeah,
Titans
yeah,
and trying to get that number one pick, which we'll kind of go over, the combine um, here after a little bit. But yeah, those guys, man, those are like kind of like my top ones. I will say the thing that I was really happy to see um, is, Myles Garrett stays in Cleveland. I thought it was interesting
yeah,
that he won it out in the first place, but I get it. Like, you want to be on a contender, you want to have a chance to win. But I was happy to see him in Cleveland. Like, he just is a Cleveland guy. They love him there. Coaching summer baseball in Ohio, and you have Browns fans. Like, I think Cleveland would have been devastated if they lose Myles
yeah.
Garrett.
100%.
And so like that's one. You
Funny
know,
enough, funny enough, off that when the Raiders just a few days earlier made Max Crosby the highest
yeah,
non-quarterback paid guy in the league, my first thought was I respect Max a lot. I think he's an
yes,
absolute stud. He is unquestionably like the heartbeat of their team and
hmm,
their emotional and physical leader. Probably still their best player now that Devontae's been gone. But I still thought like making him the highest paid non QB in the NFL was a little bit of a reach because I personally don't even consider him to be one of the top five pass rushers from the last 2 years. I don't know what your thoughts on there, but I could probably name five guys pretty safely who I would have put in front of him. But then
yeah,
but then Miles Garrett gets $5 more million on top of that. So that kind of solidified that thought process that Miles Garrett is probably a top three edge guy in the. I mean, not probably he is. I think
Yeah,
it's him, um, Watt, and I'm not the biggest Parsons fan, but Michael Parsons in there as well.
yeah, yeah.
Um, that Miles got so much more than even Max got, which is going to make the Michael Parsons deal even tougher on the Cowboys. And the longer they keep waiting, that number is going to keep driving up for them.
Yeah, no, and you bring up a really good point with that because I agree. Like Parsons, I think he's a standout, superb athlete, an absolute freak. But I was not the biggest Parsons fan. Like there was just something about him, and it could be, I'm not a Penn State guy. I don't know what it is about Penn State, but it could be that, could be biased. But I did like what he said, where he did say that he was willing to take less pay
Mhm.
at the time. At the time, he
Yeah,
said this at the time, and who knows if he stands behind it. But I'll take less pay to be able to pay other guys so we can win.
yeah,
A lot of respect, man. A lot of respect for that. He might not hold to that, but the fact that, that kind of thought process is going through a guy like that's mind, it kind of gives you hope because it just feels like, us being athletes and close in age, man, like it seems like everybody's chasing a bag and like absolutely, man, like chase the bag, but at the same time, like there's something to be said for a winner. Like you win, you're gonna get a bag.
yeah,
Um, so it's interesting, man. Like I'm curious to see, the other one is like Bosa
yeah,
getting released because they don't want to pay. And it's so crazy, man. Like you think about these guys that, and you feel for them just as human beings, but you think about these guys as people and you realize that it's such a business, dude.
yeah,
Like all major sports, it's just a business. And like there's no like hard feelings, there's no ill will. Um, and they cut a guy like Bosa to avoid like salary cap, and so it's just like but that guy's poured everything into LA. Like
yeah,
he loves it out there. And you feel for guys like that. Even like T. Higgins, dude. Like I
yeah,
really hope that guy like I really hope T. Higgins gets a deal. Like the fact
yeah,
that they put him on the franchise tag 2 years in a row,
yeah,
like you gotta pay that man. So I'm interested to see, man. I'm interested to see how it kind of shakes out this next week. See who gets deals early, see who doesn't get deals early. And I think it'll kind of give you a sense of I think it'll kind of give you a sense of like teams where they're at as far as like this draft class.
yeah,
Because offensively, I don't think this is a great draft class.
yeah.
Personally, I don't. So I'm really curious to see how that shakes out. Like, who's going to try to go get that guy out of free agency, and what teams are going to try to wait and get something out of the draft. So we'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, and let's segue right off to that, because the next topic is, what is a guy from the draft, whether he participated or not,
Mhm.
who you're either have a take on or you're looking for a certain team to go that route. Like, what is your one thing from the draft that you're hoping to see or get out of it?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, man, like watching the combine and like keeping tabs on it, it's so tough, dude. I wish they would kind of do the combine a little bit later because it's kind
Yeah,
of hard to watch. Like you got to
yeah,
catch you got to catch snippets. But the one that I did catch was Jackson Dart, dude, from Ole Miss.
yeah,
Really good combine, really good showing. I think the guy is a good pocket passer. I think he's got a little bit of dog in him. I'm really curious to see kind of what route somebody goes with him. I think he raised his draft stock in the combine. And of course, they got workouts coming up as well before the draft. But that was one guy that I am like really interested to see kind of who takes him. I don't think he's going to be a, stud, but I don't see why he's not comparable to JJ McCarthy, who the
yeah,
Vikings absolutely love.
yeah,
So that's one guy. And then, of course, the talk is, Shador and Cam Ward. And I'll be honest with you, I don't know what it is about Cam Ward. I'm not sold. I don't know why. If you gun to my head today, I'm probably gonna go Shador over Cam. And I think the reason being is because we know this being athletes. when you're cut from that pedigree, dude, and you're cut from that cloth, like your dad is Deion Sanders prime time, like you have there's something different in your DNA. So for me, I mean, that's who I would kind of take. I know that's kind of like the bounce, like back and forth, and what everybody's talking about right now. So that one's going to be interesting. And then the Abdul Carter kid, right,
Yeah,
from Penn State,
yeah,
supposed to be like the next Micah Parsons.
yeah.
And what's going on with his foot? Have they even come out and said like what he's gonna? Because I know he had to make a decision pretty soon.
Well, so at the combine, he said that um, the doctors he talked to said he doesn't have to have surgery. He can continue to
Okay.
have it, and he is going to participate as of right now at the Penn State Pro Day.
Okay.
So
So
he'll be a
so he's
full
gonna do the
participant. So
pro
he'll
day.
run a 40, do all the drills, everything at Penn State Pro Day.
Is he your number one then? If he's fully healthy, is he your number one? Is he your first guy off the board?
Me, me personally, no, I'm not a Titans fan.
Yeah.
And just so we're all clear, I'm a Chiefs fan. You
Okay.
say feel how you want to about it. I'm a Chiefs fan. Uh,
Yeah.
but Nashville is a skip and a hop from here, and
Hmm.
I hope to have a reason to be able to go to more games. And
Hmm.
for me, I'm a little bit opposite of you, but I do. I'll say this first: if I'm the Titans,
Hmm.
do I listen to pitches from other teams to put a package so that I can move back? If a team is willing to give up a one this year, a two this year, and a two next year, and a three next year,
Hmm.
I mean that's a lot of top tier picks to be able to build up a team. And maybe you roll with the Sam Darnold to Tennessee to package along with Will Levis, and and you got five picks in the first two rounds of next year. I mean, that's kind of hard to pass on as an organization. But if I'm the GM and the owner of the Titans, I personally take Cam Ward because
Okay.
I'm a big believer in, and I like Shador, and I'll give you my comp for Shador because I got two kind of mini comps for Shador.
Okay.
I'm a big believer. I want my franchise quarterback if
Hmm.
he's I want him to come from a school or schools where he constantly faced adversity and constantly had to overcome and still put up good numbers.
Hmm.
And I think Cam Ward's went the Incarnate School
Yep.
at
Incarnate World. Yep.
Washington State and then
Hmm.
Miami, and he
Hmm.
balled out all three.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
if I throw Cam Ward at Tennessee or New York or Cleveland,
Hmm.
he's already faced that kind of adversity before.
Yeah.
To a certain extent. So, um, but I think I like Cam because I think he has the higher ceiling. And if I'm an AFC team with all these great AFC quarterbacks, I gotta have somebody controlling the pocket who can go toe to toe with Mahomes, Allen, Lamar,
Hmm.
Burrow, Stroud, Herbert.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm in the NFC, my mindset is totally different because we see in the NFC, we can have maybe a second or third tier QB and put a great roster around them. Don't kill me, Eagles fans, but Jalen Hurts, Jared Goff, um, things of that nature. Where even Baker Mayfield, I'm
Hmm.
a Baker guy, but I think Tampa has still a great roster and Baker's out there slinging it, and
Hmm.
it's got a couple of good wide receivers. It's got Bucky Irving, got Rashad White, and they're able to build this team around him because Baker has a very, especially at this point, a very team friendly contract that you can still load up the gills around him. Uh,
Yes.
so, but my Shador take is you talk about pedigree. The other type of quarterback I want is if my quarterback did go to a big time program, I'm
Hmm.
hoping he broke records and won natties while he was there.
Yeah.
That's why I like Joe Burrow because has Joe Burrow always played with talent? Absolutely. But
Yeah.
what did he do at LSU? He broke
Oh yeah.
records
No.
and won a natty. So I
Oh
want
yeah.
my quarterback to look like he's the clear cut number one guy, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but I think Shador for me, and I don't think he's going to be this this game changer, but I look at him kind of like a Steph Curry. Steph Curry had a dad that played professional sports. His dad,
Yeah.
Steph Curry, was a great shooter. So Steph has always been in the locker room. He's always kind of like Patrick Mahomes too, but always had
Yeah.
great pedigree. But he went to Davidson for a couple of years,
Yeah.
and just like Shador going to Colorado, terrible O line, no run game.
Yeah.
Played with a couple of talented guys. Did play with a Heisman Trophy winner, um, and Shador still stood in there and slung that thing around. And
Yeah.
and so, like, where Steph Curry, obviously, he has probably one of the greatest skill sets of any athlete of all time. But
Hmm.
nobody's ever said Steph is just this freak nature athlete.
Yeah.
Um, but still, comparatively speaking, he's going to go down as a top 20 all time player.
Yeah.
So
No,
I
100%.
don't, and there was a lot of this talk during the combine of some teams earlier in the draft. I think comment was there was teams that had picks in the first seven slots that were not fond of his bravado and his arrogance. And my
Hmm.
personal take is that Shador knows the later he falls, the better organization he goes to.
Hmm.
So it's like, if you like me that much, you'll take me. If you think I'm too much, no problem to me. I don't, money is not an issue for me. So let me slide down to Green Bay or the Rams or somebody like that, where
Yeah.
I could be in a great organization with a great quarterback and I don't have to deal with this, incompetence because I don't want to be drafting in the top five picks for the first 3 years of my career.
No. 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 Yeah. That's a good. That's a good take on it. That's a good take on it. Yeah, I think as we get closer and draft time gets closer and we start hearing things coming out of these pro days, I think it's going to be really interesting to kind of see how everything shakes out and where everybody's talking about. I mean, because you brought up a great point. I mean, Travis Hunter. I mean, where is this guy going? Like, you just feel like you haven't heard anything. So really curious to see about that one too. Also on the same side. What is he going to play both sides? Can that body hold up? I mean, dude, you train people for a living.
Yeah.
I mean, can that body hold up a NFL schedule and against NFL men? So yeah, curious, interesting. I think we'll go back and look at this and kind of see where it all shakes out and say, oh yeah, we were kind of right and oh we were way off.
Yeah. Yeah, man. For me, I know Travis wants to. And as a personally, as an athlete, I've been around. Like I saw this firsthand. A guy named Tim Beckham, who's number one draft pick,
Hmm.
2008, and I was in a showcase with him. I was in a tournament with him. The dude did not lack 1 ounce of confidence in himself.
Hmm.
And at the time, I was like, God, like I know what I think of myself, and I was even able to get out on the field and play with him, and I actually beat him in a home run derby. And I was
Hmm.
like, this dude, but he ended up being the number one draft pick, and he ended up making it to the big league.
Hmm.
So he's done something that a lot, 99.99% of people have never done and never will do on this earth, and play a professional sport, even if it's just for one
Hmm.
game. So the whole app, the confidence and the app, you're not. I'm sure you've done this too. There's not many when you come into professional athletes and it's not at a charity function. Most of those dudes aren't as humble as they may come off to be. And
Hmm.
even when they're humble, it's like a lot of humble bragging. It's like, oh yeah, man, I came in off my helicopter and you know
Yeah.
played the back nine and flew out to Cali to get some sushi and came back and still caught Monday Night Football. It's like
Yeah.
they're living in a different reality than we are.
Yeah, they're in a different world. They're in a different world for sure. But yeah, man, I agree with you. I'm curious to see how it all pans out, man. What's our next topic, man? What you got for me? What were we talking about?
The Lakers, Luca. So
Oh
it,
yeah.
it's I hate it. So on the flip side, let's talk about the other side of the trade real quick.
Okay.
At least as a footnote, I hate this for Dallas and their fans.
Yeah.
Because when the trade happened, my immediate reaction was Dallas is going to be the better team and win the trade for the first couple years, but I think the Lakers win this trade long term.
Yeah.
And then 80 comes out first game. He's got like 22, 24 in the first half, and he's
Looks
just spreading
solid.
it up and playing with a different level. And then boom, he's down.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh. And then Kyrie, I couldn't watch the play, but Kyrie blowing out his ACL, that was brutal.
Yeah.
And now it's like, now just in a matter of 2 weeks, it's like, does Dallas need to tank? And it's like, do they sit 80 out
Yeah.
for the year and just let this thing fall off the rails and try to get a top three, top five pick, get Cooper flagged?
Yeah. Yeah. No, man. It's I do feel bad for the Dallas fan base. I mean, you go to the NBA Finals last year. I mean, and again, and for anybody out there, I'm a huge Celtics guy. Born and raised in Florida. Don't ask me how. It came from being in love with the Red Sox, and I kind of adopted the Celtics, but been through the bad years, so we've been there. But him going to the Lakers, I hate it as a Celtics fan. And of course, there's all these conspiracies. This is Adam Silver, and
Yeah.
we know LeBron's getting towards the end. The real end. And then you think about that too, man. Like, what's the great to me the greatest rivalry in sports? I mean, and it's one that's brought up all the time is Celtics versus Lakers.
Yeah.
And if you have the opportunity as a front office NBA, whatever you want to call it, decision maker, why would you not want to drive up ratings and have LeBron and Luca towards the end of his career and the Celtics coming out of the East? Which we're gonna get there. I know we're gonna get there with kind of our contenders, but yeah, man, hate it for the Mavericks because you really felt like you had something there, man. You felt like you um, kind of had your next like dirt kind of player, which a lot of comparisons there. Both from overseas. Their games were similar in a lot of ways, but yeah, what's going on in Dallas right now? It's going to be interesting to see when the mob starts to form, and I think you're getting kind of a little sense of it right now.
Yeah.
That mob starting to form out there, and those fans are loyal, man. Those Mavericks fans are. I mean, just like Cowboys fans. I mean, they are loyal to a fault. So it just kind of felt like the carpet was pulled out from underneath them, and I think this is one thing that we're able to do a lot that I would say a lot of people can't is we were fortunate enough to play our respective baseball at a high level, and we both had good careers and what have you, um, but you feel bad for Luca as a player.
Yeah.
It just comes out of nowhere. You just bought a house in Dallas, man. You think you're going to be there, and while I am a huge Celtics fan, and I never want the Lakers to be good, I do hope that Luca kind of finds his footing out there. I do hope, just as a person, as a competitor and athlete, I couldn't imagine that, man. I couldn't imagine, I'm one of the best in the game, and you just get told like, hey, man, we don't want you anymore.
Yeah.
It's like do what? I mean, that'd be like you just going off a year where you hit 300 plus, and coach coming to you and being like, hey, Brian, sorry, dude, you're cut.
Yeah.
Like, hold on, do what? Like, I'm cut. Like, what do you mean I'm cut? Um, so yeah, man, that's kind of tough. But I know LeBron got hurt last night in their matchup against the Celtics, and they're saying he's going to have a couple weeks. But I mean, Luke is a game changer. We all know it, and if that guy's on the floor, he's going to make the other people around him better. Not defensively. Of course, that's the knock on Luca. Um, but what I will say, and I'm not the biggest LeBron guy. I have a lot of respect for what he's done, and I have a lot of respect for how like his longevity, and I think he's a good person, especially with JJ Redick out there, man, that played with Luca, was a teammate with Luca. I think that's a good spot for Luca to really kind of hone in and blossom into one of the greatest to ever play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to know your thoughts. Where are you thinking the Lakers are sitting? Think right now they're what? They're number two. They
Yeah,
bumped up all the way to number two.
yeah. The West is. I was looking at Sandy yesterday. West is really tight because I saw the Grizzlies are sitting at four in
Four.
the West,
Yeah, they're at four.
and with like 38 wins. But then like the ninth team has 32 wins, and I mean I know that's a
Yeah.
16 swing, but I mean you can go through two weeks and swing 4 games pretty easily in the NBA.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, dude, you're spot on. It's a close race. I didn't realize how close it was in the West, and I got it pulled up right here.
yeah,
And yeah, the Kings are sitting at the nine spot with 33.
yeah,
And you got the Grizzlies with 39.
yeah.
And
Yeah, I was speaking off yesterday, so I'm just one off. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. So you're talking about, you got the Rockets at 39 wins, you got the Warriors at 36 wins, you got the Timberwolves at 36 wins, and then the Clippers at 34, and then the Kings are at 33. And to your point, where you thought the Mavericks were going to have the ultimate success, I think up until last week, what they were like seven or eight, because right now they're
yeah.
32 and 32.
Yeah, because even after AD went out, I want to say they went on like a 4 game win streak after that.
Yeah,
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 they
it
were they were
was.
sitting in a good spot to kind of tread water until AD gets back because I know his status is still indefinite. They're still unsure about his injury. Like, I'm sure they want to hold him
Hmm.
as long as possible, but if they could have
Hmm.
tread water through much of May and get him back early April to make a playoff push, they probably would have been sitting well because in the West, I feel like even in the West, if you're a Dallas or Houston, the task isn't as daunting. Like there's not a juggernaut team in the West. I feel
Hmm.
OKC is a really, really great team. I
Yes.
feel like the Lakers are probably quickly becoming a favorite to make it to the Western Conference Finals, if not come out of the Western Conference Finals, especially if LeBron can get healthy. But to me, the West is even more open than the East. Whereas I feel like in the East, the Cavs and the Celtics are just kind of head and shoulders above everybody else, especially when they decide to actually show up and play. Because not many of their games when they've been on a primetime game have they been close,
Yeah.
unless they're playing one or the other, or the Lakers, the Clippers, or the Nuggets, or OKC.
Hmm. Hmm.
Going back to my Lakers point, um, and even for Luca, I very much feel you on that point because the only thing I can even relate it to, because in my career, um, I was probably given more flowers than criticism. Um,
Hmm.
but I think that's just because of the level that I produce, and I was the first one in the building, last one out of the building kind of guy.
Hmm.
So and I didn't get in trouble for I got in trouble one time for showing up
Yeah.
to practice late because I was coming from church. Uh,
Yeah.
but to me, it's like with Lucas, I'm married and I've been married 3 going on 4 years now,
Hmm.
and I can imagine my wife being like, "Hey, babe, hey, like you put on a little weight since you've been married, like." Hey,
Yeah.
what are you
Yeah.
doing? And then
Yeah.
yeah, I'll cut out the cookies and I do
Yeah.
that for 2 months, and then 6 months later, I put the weight back on, and the next thing I know is like I'll come home and she's like, hey, I'm moving. You
Yeah.
can keep the house, but divorce papers are on the table. You can sign them, get into the lake lawyer, and I'm moving down to the beach. I can't imagine just somebody telling me I'm not, they can't see themselves with me anymore and just
Yeah.
trading me without my input. And you would think a player of Luca's caliber would have at least get the due diligence of giving him some input or insight to what's going on. Because
Yeah.
from everything I've learned, like he had no idea it was coming.
Yeah, which is really interesting, man. Like you talk about like all these theories that people have, and you bring up a great point. Why keep it so secret? Why was it such a under the table deal? There's so many things that just don't make sense about it, and you're trying to figure it out, and you're trying to put the pieces together, and you can't really make sense of it. You're like, a guy at 25, man, like, really kind of in his prime. Like, was he a little heavy? Yeah. Did he like beer? Yeah, we all do. But it's like, man, like, come on, dude. Like, yeah. Yeah, I don't know, man. It perplexes me. But to the point that I was making, we're talking about why was it so secretive? They could have got such a better deal,
Yeah,
such a better deal. And not to knock anything on Anthony Davis. I think he's, a good basketball player, a great basketball player. He's just had, really shitty luck with the injury bug. And it's like we're sitting here talking about a guy in Luca who doesn't miss a whole lot of time. I mean, I don't know. I said when it first happened, man, I was talking to a buddy and I told them, I was like, you know, I would have been okay with like a Luca Evan Mobley.
yeah,
Like something like that. I'm like, okay, like, do I agree? No. But if you think you can win with Kyrie now and you're just missing that kind of like power forward, big man kind of guy, let's go for Evan Mobley. Let's go. Like, yeah. So it just a lot of things throw me off with that one, in my opinion. But I'm really curious, man. Do we want to talk about? Do you want my contenders? Do you want the?
Hey, I got something for you. So speaking of the
Okay.
devil, I think we said Rod's name too many times in the same
Yeah.
podcast, but he
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
texted me. But he texted me
Yeah.
something very quality. You ready for this?
All right. Let me hear it.
DK Metcalf breaking news.
Okay.
Going to the Steelers.
Like just now.
Just now, Tom Pelissero, I believe Tom Pelissero is with ESPN. I could be wrong. He might be with the Athletic. I think he's with the Athletic. But yeah, DK
Yeah.
Metcalf, two-time Pro Bowler, going from the Seahawks to the Steelers.
Wow. So that was that text that I got. I got another text from a buddy, and that's what I replied to. And I just told him we're recording this, and didn't even read what his text said. Wow, 5 years, 5 year contract,
Yeah.
5 year contract,
What's the money on him?
150 mil contract reported by
Wow.
Adam Scheffner.
Look at the
Wow,
Steelers.
dude. Wow.
Can't wait to talk about
Wow.
Rod about this. He's not going to shut up. But
No.
I'm gonna tag him in this podcast and let him know we're talking about him.
Dude, yeah, you have to. You have to. I just saw another one we're sitting here talking about, and I'm going through all my ESPN alerts. Bills and Josh Allen agreed to a record-setting 6 year, $330 million contract.
Wow. What's the average on that? Let's see.
And that includes a 250 million guarantee. So 6 years, 330 mil.
At 55 a year. I mean, that's on par.
Yeah, but I mean, dude, I mean,
But
and I like Josh Allen.
all that really does though is with him getting, I'm sure it's going to be an astronomical signing bonus. So all
Yes.
that's going to do is lower the cap and free up
Yep.
more cap for them. And he's going
Yep.
to get his money, his cash in hand. They believe in him as they should. He just won the MVP. And I just instantly, and I think they just let Von Miller go
Yeah,
yesterday.
they did. They did.
So, and I saw they let another starter free agent go as well. I think on the defensive side,
Okay.
and I think an offensive lineman. So I mean, they probably just freed up. I don't know, 50 million cap space.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and when you're talking about all the other guys. I mean, imagine. I mean, I don't think Joey Bosa would, but who knows? I mean, imagine he goes to the Bills, dude.
Well, no, I hear the rumor since yesterday is Joey going to the 49ers to get with his brother.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I mean that's definitely what people are going to gravitate towards. But imagine he goes to the Bills,
I
what that
know,
defense looks like.
I
Oh,
know.
it's insane.
That's the thing. They need that pass rusher. That's
Mm,
why they brought Von Miller in the first place. And I
yep.
remember at his press conference, he was like, "Hey, like basically like new sheriff's in town, shit's changing around here." And
Yeah.
I think it was just with the injuries that didn't kind of pan out. So maybe if I'm the Bills, I'm like, maybe if I can get Joey at a really discounted rate, I can bring him in. But if Joey's
Hmm.
wanting, decent, he's not gonna get top of the market play. But
No.
I think Bosa's missed over 5 games the last 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
And so that's just going to be hard. Like he got paid off of what he did 4 and 5 years ago. So I just think
Hmm.
if I'm the Bills, I would love to have a Bosa, but it's got to be at a staple kind of number. and
Yeah.
hoping I can get the upside. And maybe if I do, it's like it's an incentivized number. Like, hey, $1 million in your contract, you play, 80% of the snaps this year. Another
Yeah.
500K for every 5 sacks you get. Something to say.
Yeah.
So maybe he can do something like that, and maybe he'll magically have a fully healthy year for him.
Yeah, no, it's wow, that's crazy. DK to the Steelers. Well, they got to figure out who's going to get the ball to him. But that's a scary
Him and
combo, him and
Pickens,
Pickens.
and
It's a scary
they're
combo.
two different kind of wide receivers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's look out.
Honestly, just looking way too far in the future, depending on who they get at quarterback, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, Pickens is probably a sleeper second round wide receiver this year.
Mm-hmm.
I think DK adding that fear factor, Pickens could be 100 catch, 1,400 yard, 15 touchdown guy next year, like easily.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Especially
It's
if
gonna
they
be
get
interesting.
a guy with some stat like hell, some people have Aaron Rodgers going there. Um,
Which
and
I think could be good.
yeah, I'm personally not an Aaron Rodgers guy. Uh,
No.
he exhausts me, and I haven't played one down at NFL. I've never been his teammate. He
Yeah.
just exhausts me as a person.
Yeah.
I'm not big on people who don't take accountability for their actions, good or bad. I like my quarterbacks to sound like Josh Allen and Lamar and Patrick, where it's
Mm-hmm.
like, man, we win. It was a great team win. If we lost, I could have done better. And
Yes.
you just don't, as great of a talent, I will 100% acknowledge he's a great all-time talent. And I actually enjoy
Mm-hmm.
watching. I, honestly, there's a line of demarcation with Aaron Rodgers with the whole I'm immunized thing during the COVID thing. Up until that
Yeah.
point, I really enjoyed watching him play. I was never like an Aaron Rodgers fan, but I liked him more than I did Brett Favre. Uh,
Yeah.
and then he's kind of gone into left field, to use a baseball term, in the last few years.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Yeah, that's gonna be interesting on our next one to kind of see where everything stands, especially as we get closer to the draft and everything. But yeah, no, we want to hop back on the
Yeah, let's
NBA train
pivot.
real quick.
Let's pivot. So, NBA
Yeah,
early,
what you got?
early, early contenders. Give me your Eastern and Western Conference Finals matchup right now.
As it stands today, even though I am biased, but I mean, I don't think you can knock it with what they got there right now. The Celtics. I mean,
Yeah,
you, it'd be like trying to say that, like, when the Chiefs won, like, how are they not the favorite? Like, they
yeah,
are the defending champs. So there is a little bias in that answer, but at the same time, I mean, you look at what they have in a six man in Peyton Pritchard, who could go on a, I would probably say like 12 teams right now and be a starting point guard and be putting up some real numbers and be a star. Um, and then, they got Derek White, who's also just, I mean, the thing about the Celtics that I like about them and why I'm so high on them as a fan is at any given night, somebody can pop off for a 30 ball. And not only can one person pop off for a 30 ball, you might get two 30 balls on your head out of the Celtics locker room. Like, that's a scary, scary feeling. Um, my other Eastern Conference, who I think the Celtics are going to face is going to be the Cavaliers.
yeah.
The Cavaliers are solid, man. They just win. Like, they just win. So I'm really curious to see. I'm hoping we get that matchup this year in the Eastern Conference. But it will be very interesting to see if we get that matchup because there are some teams, man. Like, I was looking at the standings earlier, and there are some teams in there that I'm like, they could be like they could be. I know your Magic are
Yeah.
sitting at 8 right now, which you never know. I don't really see the Heat doing anything. The Hawks are just missing a big man, in my opinion. I went to that game last night. I don't know why Trae Young gets so much hate. The guy's a dog.
Yeah,
The
I love.
guy's a dog. Yeah, I mean,
I,
he is
I,
just.
I mean, not to get sidetracked, but my number one hope for the Orlando Magic was that they were going to figure out a way to acquire trade in a trade, but instead,
Hmm.
their shooting guard went to the Pelicans.
Yeah,
Yeah,
DeJounte.
yeah.
Yeah,
But I
DeJounte.
was like
Yeah.
really hoping they just.
Mm,
I mean, they had already signed Franz. They're going to keep Paolo, which I really appreciate that about the NBA now is that the NBA incentivizes teams or allows or gives teams ability that with the supermax contracts
mm.
that players can make the most money staying put, and that really
Yes.
helps the small markets. Uh,
Yes, it does.
but I'll let
It
you get
does.
that. But I'm with
Yeah,
you. I love
no.
trading.
Yeah. I mean, what are you, I mean, what are your kind of your thoughts? Let me get your Eastern Conference
And
matchup before we roll over to the West.
man, we're the same. I've watched a lot of Cavs games this
Hmm.
year, and they really got on my radar against their playoff um, matchup with the Magic last year because
Yeah.
Garland was solid last year. He kind of did
Hmm.
come on towards the end of the series and kind of put a dagger in the Magic's heart. But man, uh, God, Donovan Mitchell. He was like
Yeah.
hobbled like the whole series and like literally limping, but just keep constantly getting to the foul line. And man, he's such a dynamic scorer, inside, outside, mid range. He finds an open man. He's a smart dude. He's a solid enough defender. But I mean, they got Evan Mobley back there, and Jared Allen. Just like, but that's the thing. They probably along with the Celtics have the most complete roster along with OKC in the NBA. Just like one
Yeah.
through, like
Yeah.
what the Cavaliers was Garland, um, Mitchell,
Hmm.
Allen, Mobley. Who's their small forward?
They've been bouncing around. I don't think it's been I don't
I know
think it's been
Strauss has
like a
been there some.
solid. Yeah, it's been Strauss. Dean Wade has gotten
Yeah,
some. I forgot they acquired DeAndre Hunter not too long
yeah,
ago.
yeah. That's right.
So yeah, the Cavs, man. I think that's I think that's going to be the matchup that we're going to see. I for some reason I'm just not sold on the Knicks. I don't know why. I think Jalen Brunson is a dog, but I'm just not sold on the Knicks.
Yeah,
Um,
with the Knicks, man, it's like I've watched enough primetime games. I watched him play the Magic. I've watched him play Philadelphia. I've watched him
mhm.
play the Cavs, the Lakers, the Nuggets, the Warriors, and the Knicks have struggled beating the good teams this year,
Yes,
which
yes,
is concerning for me going into the playoffs. And
yes.
Carl Anthony Towns has been a great offensive force in their team, but
Hmm.
Tom Thibodeau teams are defensive teams.
Yes.
But they're with their identity being so offensive heavy right now, with their coach being a defensive guy and an effort guy. Uh,
Hmm.
like I just think they have a how they and I know they went all in their roster this year,
Yeah,
but
they
I
did.
don't think their roster is painting out how they envisioned it would.
Yeah, I think you're on the mark, man. I think you're on the mark. You know, yeah, and I think the other reason why, like, I'm a big, that's my kind of matchup too is, and I will say, I guess, like, my dark horse, quote unquote, like my dark horse to kind of come out of the East or be in the Eastern Conference Finals is the Pacers.
Yeah,
Watching that game last night, I mean, the Hawks controlled the game for the first three quarters. And all of a sudden you look up and you go, holy shit, the Pacers are up a point. And you're like, how does this happen? But what Rick Carlisle has done there, man, is he's created a culture of we are going to play so that final buzzer hits. And I don't care how down, like how far the margin is, how far out of reach it is. We're going to keep playing and we're going to let the dominoes fall where they fall.
yeah,
And man, I mean, like Benedict Mathurin, dude, just gets hot from three last night, and you're just like, this guy can't miss.
yeah.
So the Pacers, I guess, would be like that team that I'm kind of like worried about. But yeah, and then you go over to the Western Conference, man,
Hold on.
and oh, go ahead, yeah,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
gonna say, I think my dark horse team I've been thinking about, but I still like the Bucks a lot.
Hmm.
I mean, Giannis is playing great. Dame is playing much better this year. I
Yeah,
know Bobby Portis is out, so that's he's kind of a glue guy. Um,
yeah.
He'll get you 16, 17 on a good night, play good defense, and he's a
Hmm.
tall, long guy, so he can help out on defense a lot. But just with them having Lopez and Giannis and Dame, and
Hmm.
I think if they go into the playoffs healthy,
Yeah.
they could they could definitely get out of round one pretty easily. I actually like Detroit a lot. I love Cade Cunningham, and they're kind of really coming into this. Like Detroit's probably gonna be my team next year that goes
Yes.
from like the middle of the pack to like an upper echelon team. But
Yeah, I
I
can get
still
behind
think
you.
the Bucks in a given series in the East can catch one of the other two teams off guard, especially if
Hmm.
Giannis is getting 12, 14, 16 um, free throw attempts and getting the team in foul trouble, and Dame is, getting 5, 6 3-pointers off and knocking them down.
Yeah, no, I'm behind you on that one. With them, the Bucks. Yeah, and I don't know why I forget about the Bucks. Giannis is, a great player. I just think it's because probably they're in Milwaukee. You also forget that they have Kyle Kuzma.
Yeah,
They acquired him, but yeah, no, those are two. I think those are two good dark horses, man. I'm curious to see when playoffs get here, like where we're at, like what it kind of shakes out to be. But yeah, and then I know you wanted my Western Conference. So the Western Conference matchup that I had was the Thunder and the Nuggets. I don't know why. I guess with Luca now, I could buy some more stock into the Lakers making it to the Western Conference Finals. But I think a big piece of that is going to be, like you just said, for the Bucks, healthy.
yeah,
You got to be healthy, man, and that's a huge thing. And like I know, and we've had this conversation a lot in the gym and talking about, the different mindset of kids today and athletes today, and how different it was from when we kind of played, and we're not that far removed from it. But the guys that are sitting out and they don't. I feel like, and I think you can speak on this a little more. I don't feel like these guys are training themselves to go out there and compete at a high level night in, night out anymore.
yeah,
I feel like it's very much a kind of, I don't want to say maintenance kind of what they're trying to do in the weight room, but more of a, I don't know. I don't know the right word for it, but yeah, like I want your thoughts on that, man. Like, with people like sitting out games and stuff like that, and like you being a trainer, I think that's something that could add a lot of value into this conversation is like, what are your thoughts on that? Because that's a big thing now is like you hear everybody talk about, I'm training.
yeah. So I guess for me, so I'll look at it as it from the sports gambling side of it, from the fan side of it, and then
Hmm.
I like the personal, I guess, professional side of me being a personal trainer. So the
Yes.
sports gaming side of it is that's probably where I get the most frustrated just in general
Hmm.
because of the amount of guys that sit out and everything is so last minute.
Hmm.
And thankfully, it doesn't you don't lose money if a guy sits out last minute. I mean, because I know I'm trying to make if I'm gonna bet, I try to make it 2 to 4, 5, 6 hours ahead of time when I'm in the middle of the day. I have time to look at trends and stats and stuff, and I have a clear mind. And I'm less
Hmm.
cluttered. Um, and like a guy, one of my favorite players easily in the league, John Morant.
Hmm.
He's a guy that sat out more games than I thought he would, and he's been relatively healthy this year. And maybe he is saving himself for the playoff, and I hope he does because I want to see the Grizzlies make a deep run into the league and get back relevant
Hmm.
like they were a couple years ago. So there's that side of it. As a fan side of it, that's probably where I have the most trouble with it because it makes you really nervous to go watch certain teams play in person.
Hmm.
Sitting at home, guy sits out, I turn to the next game or get on YouTube or whatever. But if I'm paying my money and
Hmm.
I've already made plans and me, switching around clients or, you know, could have done something else or whatever, or I've taken a client out, like a business trip. I'm sure that's something you've done before. I've been taken out as a client. I've taken clients out 2 games before,
Hmm.
and Lakers are rolling in town, and it's their third game in 4 nights. It's like, man, is LeBron going to play tonight? Before back forward, they had it. Is AD going to play tonight? Because it's a
Yeah.
totally different game when they are or aren't in the game. Whether
Yeah.
I'm a LeBron fan or not, I still want to watch a great game. I would rather watch LeBron rip my heart out and get his butt kicked than sit on the sideline to rest the ankle from a back to back to back. I know they don't
Yeah.
talk against a but even just a regular back to back. On the
Yeah.
fucking player side of it, I know we talked about this when you were in town. I think sports in general, especially well in baseball with pitchers more than anything, and then in NFL and NBA. But even I've listened to Gilbert Arenas' podcast, and Kenyon Martin
Hmm.
and Gilbert have talked about how hard their training camps were. That they did 2 a days back then. They're like, dude, like nobody got hurt. Like
Hmm.
maybe one star a year would get hurt, but now it's like multiple stars per year get hurt, but it's like knick-knack injuries. It's just like, oh, he's out for a week, and then he plays 3 weeks, and he's out for another week, another week. Excuse me. So I think the sports have gotten so over specialized that I think a lot of
Yes.
the reason why guys used to stay healthier is guys used to play multiple sports before they got into college and then NBA. Even NBA basketball probably the only sport that probably had the least amount of crossover because a lot of those guys hit weird growth spurts and being 6'5" or 175 pounds doesn't translate unless you're a baseball pitcher or you're
Yeah.
running really
Yeah.
fast. Uh,
Yeah.
but I think the guys practicing less across all sports and spending more time in the weight room, or for some guys, even more, like the fact that they practice less. Some guys are training more, but some guys are like
Hmm.
clubbing and partying more.
Yeah.
It's just not even, not even bringing up Luke, but you listen, if you listen to Gilbert and Jeff Teague's 520 podcast, the amount of stories that those guys, when they bring on NBA guys, like the amount of partying that they do, I would imagine that these guys have even more time to do that now that there's
Yes.
less practice and less shoot around. So I think all those kind of little things add up to where the NBA has kind of gotten now, and the guys make so much more money. And I also think the sports media, taking this kind of from Danny Parkers and Nick Wright, two guys from FS1 who I enjoy listening to, they talk about how a lot of these athletes make so much money, but the narrative around their careers is your career is pretty irrelevant unless you have a championship to go behind it. And
Yeah.
so if I'm a superstar and I'm not contending for titles every year, I'm gonna get
Hmm.
drugged through the mud.
Hmm.
And if I don't eventually win one, then I might be a great, might be a Hall of Famer, but nobody's considering me to be, a top 50 player all time.
Yeah.
Um, and then
Yeah.
it's like on the other end of the spectrum, it's like, dude, if I'm a really good player, but I'm playing for a play-in level team or just missing the playoffs, then I'm
Hmm.
pretty irrelevant. Even though I'm making 40 mil a year as the 40th best player in the NBA, I'm still pretty irrelevant. Because I think like again, I know he hasn't gotten his big contract yet, but I think like Cade Cunningham, who
Hmm.
pay attention to basketball, just shredding up the league and just getting better week after week. The general NBA fan probably still knows very little about him.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of guys like that in the league right now who are playing for up and coming teams, or even Scotty Barnes. I'm watching him develop with the Toronto Raptors, and I
Hmm.
want to say 2 years ago, like I mean, he looked like he could be the seventh or eighth best dude on their team. Now he's their go-to guy in a quick 2 year swing. And but again, like who watches Raptors games? You know,
Yeah. Unless they're on.
they're such a
Yeah.
bottom feeder team right now.
Yeah. No, man, that's a great point, and I think that's something, we kind of talked about before getting into this, and and then we'll kind of get back on track here and not get too far into the weeds, but something that we kind of talked about bringing up, later in this podcast for the listeners is, especially because we do have experience coaching and coaching at high levels, but just bringing up, mindsets and, I feel like that how you just said, the winning, nobody really cares unless you won. Like bringing up that winning mindset, I think would be a great conversation down the road. But yeah, we'll get back on track, man. But yeah, those were my two, the Thunder and the Nuggets. Dark horse in there. I don't think you can count out Ant-Man.
Yeah,
I don't think they've caught their stride yet. Since the trade for, Julius Randle, but you can't count out Ant-Man. My man's out here telling Obama that he's the truth. I mean,
yeah,
you got to respect it, man. You got to respect it. But who would be your two, and give me your dark horse?
man. Right now, it's really tough for me. OKC for sure.
Yeah,
I just think, especially if they have well, right now he is healthy, but if they're healthy going into the playoffs, I just find their length and having Shea, who I think is going to be, I think he's an NBA. Even though Jokic is having a out of this world season again, I think
yeah,
people are just kind of fatigued by him. I'm personally not.
no,
But like Shea is the younger, more dynamic. But Shea led his team to a number one seed last year, and he's on that pace again. I think he was
yeah,
slightly ahead of that pace. So, and he's
hmm
the leader and best player. So I do think Shea is right now the favorite for the NBA MVP.
yeah,
And my heart, my brain tells me OKC and Nuggets.
hmm
But my heart right now, even though I'm not a Lakers fan, I'm not a LeBron
yeah,
guy. I'm actually not a Luka guy either.
yeah,
But I enjoy them ripping my heart out or watching their butt get kicked. Well, and I'm kind of like you know LeBron. I'm not a LeBron fan, but I do greatly appreciate everything
hmm
he is doing on and off the court. Uh,
yeah.
but right now, LeBron gets healthy. I have Lakers, OKC, Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, no, I mean, I could
I
get
just
behind
think
that.
I just you shake those two trees. I think that's who the two fruits that fall first.
Yeah, no, and I think a big piece of that, man, when we're talking about this and we get closer to the playoff time, and the play-in tournament, but I think a big piece of that is going to be health. Who's
Yeah,
healthy, who's not healthy. If the Lakers can stay where they're at and they can get a little bye, they don't got to be in the play-in tournament. Hey, we might be talking about a different story.
yeah.
But LeBron going down for a couple weeks, has Luka found his stride out there? And does he have a good enough foundation underneath him in LA to continue the track that he was on with LeBron taking some pressure off, if that makes sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I'm gonna be curious to get back and kind of go through these and see, man, when we get closer to that time where we're at, because we'll keep talking about them, we'll keep talking and going as far as I know we want to make this a weekly thing, so we'll keep up to date with it, see what's happening, what's trending, and kind of go from there.
All right. Before we close out with baseball,
Yeah,
uh,
what you got?
let me ask you this. This could be a quick answer.
Okay.
Would you consider Luca and LeBron to be the two smartest players to play together ever, NBA IQ wise, and what they're able to do with the ball in their hands?
Ooh, that is tough, man. That is tough. Because there's a lot of there's a lot of greats that have played together, but my gut tells me right now, if they're not number one, and I'm missing one right now, coming like off the top of my head, if they're not number one, they're number two.
Yeah.
Um, the only, they might be, they might be.
I just think just pure basketball IQ wise, like obviously like a lot of guys who are super smart IQ, they go into coaching or
Hmm
into like an executive role, like president of basketball operation, like a Joe Dumars back in the day, Bad Boy Pistons and all
Yeah.
that stuff. But I personally think, even though I'm not a LeBron fan, I think LeBron is unquestionably a top three smartest player of all time and
Yeah.
probably top three gifted players of all time.
hmm
And I just don't. You can't watch Luca play, and Luca has all the size in the world, but like Luca's not the shiftiest guy. He's definitely not the most explosive guy, but you
hmm
can't keep him from getting to where he wants to get on the court, and you can't really stop him from doing what he wants to do on the court. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's an IQ understanding leverages and angles and down cuts and the plays and all that stuff on the fly. And I just don't. The only guys that even come to mind, and it's just from I got to watch them play actually in their prime back when I was still in Orlando, uh,
Hmm.
when they were on the Celtics, and just hearing other NBA players talk about them. But the only other two guys I could think of that played on the same team at the same time that I just know had a high IQ were KG and Rondo. Because
Yeah.
especially the way that a lot of guys talk about how Rondo, Chris Paul, LeBron were probably, in the 2010s were probably the three smartest dudes in the NBA, along with the
Yes.
Kobe Bryant.
Yes. Yes. No. I was thinking KG and I was thinking Rondo. The other one, and I just don't know. You don't really hear about IQ a lot out of them though. Would be like Jordan and Pippen. But
Yeah.
you don't really hear like I think
Uh,
Jordan had more of the IQ where like Pippen probably didn't. Pippen was just a really good basketball player.
yeah.
But yeah, man, I think that's a great point. I would love, somebody that watches this to kind of give us their two. I think it'd be a great conversation to kind of have. But yeah, I would love if somebody kind of is thinking of somebody that we're not thinking of for sure.
All right, man. Let's close this thing out. I got a few minutes, and
Yeah.
I know me and my wife got to sit down for Love Is Blind reunion. It's supposed to be pretty.
Okay.
So we got about 12 minutes, so let's close this thing out. Moving on to
Yeah.
baseball.
Okay. Yeah.
Our kind of number one deals here. And a little truth moment here, man. When I got done playing baseball, and I think it was just a combination of just what happened in life in general. When I got done playing baseball and I got into personal training full time, and I was in a
Hmm.
committed relationship at the time, but I was also transitioning into like moving into adulthood, and then my like
Hmm.
how my schedule worked out. Like I didn't get to watch a whole lot of like sit down, and I actually enjoy watching baseball game. I'm a baseball purist. Like I
Hmm.
don't get bored watching a full baseball game. It's even better now.
Yeah.
Like man, like 2013 to like 2018, dude, I might have watched like 10, 12 games in full, not counting the playoffs. I watched a lot of playoff games. So for me, it was just like a lot of highlights. But I'm glad these
Hmm.
last couple of years I've been able to get back into baseball full time, full swing, and I'm fully looking to fully diving in and even get into a fantasy baseball league this year. Definitely not going
Yeah.
to gamble on baseball because it's
Yeah.
too volatile, it's too every day, and
Yeah.
I'll save my money on that. But
Yeah.
right now, well, let's go with this.
Okay.
What are what a couple of your favorite storylines going into this MLB season?
It's not a favorite, but I think it's one that's going to be talked about a lot, and it's going to be one that's a lot of focus. Is of course the Dodgers.
Yeah,
I think that the Dodgers, man, they're interesting and they're a great storyline night in, night out. What they've been able to acquire there and do there is really special. It's something that you don't see too often, and I think a lot of people can't. There's a lot of MLB fans that have a tough time to step back and look at what greatness is. And right now, man, that's some greatness over there.
yeah,
That's going to go down as probably one of the greatest rosters of all time,
yeah,
hands down. That's a storyline, man. Watching them this year is going to be really interesting. I'm really curious to see how the NL West, or NL East shakes
yeah,
out with the Braves and the Phillies. I think the Braves have done some things. It sucks that Sean Murphy's out now. I don't even know who their like opening day roster guy is going to be behind the dish. So that's going to be an interesting one. And man, the AL East is always interesting. Me being a Red Sox fan, I pay a little more attention to the AL East. I'm not crazy about what the Red Sox got right now. I'm a lot crazier about what we have closer to the All-Star break
yeah,
with the prospects we have, and we just shipped out a bunch to the White Sox.
yeah,
So I think the real storyline to watch this year, in my opinion, is going to be for sure the AL East,
yeah.
the NL East, and then how dominant the Dodgers can be if they're healthy all year. those are going to be like my kind of like three storylines that I'm like really interested in this year. Um, so we'll see. I think that a storyline that a lot of people aren't giving a lot of credit to, and I might be a little biased. I have a former player of mine that's in the organization, so I'm hearing a lot of good things. But the Tigers, man, the Tigers, their pitching staff is going to be really, really good. They just got Flaherty back. They got Scooble back, and I think a lot of people forget they just signed Glaber.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're young. They're young. They made a playoff push at the end of last year. Tigers, sneaky dark horse this year, like early dark horse for me. It's the Tigers.
Well, man, I agree with you on all that. I'll work backwards. I saw Glaber had a good week at spring training this past week,
Hmm.
and that's a great sign for them. And
Yes.
maybe you could say like he's just going to be an MLB late bloomer, and maybe this is an all-star caliber year for him this year.
Yeah.
He has to, he's one of those guys that has the talent, hasn't been able to pull together like a full season yet, or even like a great first half. So maybe
Hmm.
that's what happens for him this year. Uh,
Yeah.
you bring up the Dodgers, and to me, they're probably the most intriguing and polarizing franchise in all of American sports today. Whether
Yeah.
people are fully recognizing it or not, but if you're like a true through and through sports fan, it's they're star-studded like the Showtime Lakers,
Yeah.
but they're doing like the way they're doing deals, and I know baseball doesn't have a salary cap, but still the
Hmm.
way they're doing these contracts and pushing money down, they're doing deals like the Philadelphia Eagles right now.
Yeah.
So it's like you mix the Eagles front office prowess and the Showtime Lakers constructor roster prowess, and it's like, hey, you throw it on a baseball field, and you got Mookie. What you got? Three MVPs in one lineup,
Oh, it's insane.
and
It's insane.
there are probably another two guys that maybe one or two guys if they played on a contender type team and had a season year, they could be an MVP candidate one year.
Hmm.
So it's just the Dodgers are going to be, like you said, by far the most polarizing team. They're
Yes.
going to do crazy numbers, and it's like, man, it's kind of smart because it's like if you're the most polarizing, and they're getting all this Asian money now by having Shohei and they got the Japanese pitcher, right? Uh,
Yeah, I can't think of his name, but
yeah,
yes, they are
and
just
so
pulling them
you're
down.
getting all the Asian media market money with American market money, and it's like they're making money hand over foot there, and
Yeah.
it seems like Magic Johnson between the Dodgers and the uh, people. I think some people don't realize he's part of the group that bought out the Commanders, and what he's doing with
Mm.
the Commanders is like Magic Johnson's kind of like doing his thing right now as a front office exec. Uh,
Yeah.
and I'm with you on the NL East, and I'm surprised you didn't bring up the Mets because like
Yeah.
I feel like this will be the year that the Subway Series is like I think it was a 9/11 the last time I can remember like the Subway Series was like a really big polarizing thing because that was
Yeah.
like that was like Jeter and the Mets still had like Mike Piazza and all
They
those
did.
guys. So I feel like the Subway Series in itself that's always great for baseball. I wish
Hmm.
ESPN still covered baseball how it did in the 90s and 2000s. Uh,
Yeah.
I feel like the Subway Series is going to be back full force again. I wouldn't be surprised if who's ever covering those teams doesn't maximize the marketing on those. But the AL East between the Mets, the Braves, and the Phillies, just
Hmm.
like I mean, that's going to be kind of like almost like the AFC North, right? Yeah, the AFC North with the the uh, Ravens and the Browns and the
Yes,
Bengals
yes, yes, and
uh,
the Steelers.
and the Steelers. I mean,
Yes,
that division is just a gauntlet to come out of, the gauntlet to
yes,
go through, and it's like if you do come out of that, you're not gonna. You come out of that division like you're gonna be battle tested, but you also might be beat up. So
yeah,
I'm with you on all that.
yeah. No, for sure, man. So yeah, we'll definitely have to as we move forward, man, we'll definitely have to dive into baseball. I know NFL and NBA talks kind of ramped up a little bit more, but yeah, we'll have to dive into some more baseball for sure.
Yeah, yeah, man. I'm looking forward to it. This was a fun, great first show. Definitely a good outlet, being able to just talk sports freely, uninterrupted. And
Yes.
as much as I enjoy talking sports, I won't talk sports with everybody because it's just some people are just too fanatical about their
Yes.
teams or sport, and or they put too much politics in it. It's like, I'm
Hmm.
not trying to hear. Do I like a good theory? Yes, but I'm not trying to hear conspiracy theories on
Yeah.
college football and players getting paid and what it's going
Yeah.
to do to our government and all that. Just I like watching the games. I like spending betting a little money on it, and I like talking about it. So.
Yes.
Uh, but man, I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully we can start providing more content. We can learn from this. I'm going to go back and watch this and send it to some people I trust. Try to get this episode up in a couple days, and we can
Yeah.
share it and start rolling from there. And
Absolutely, man. Yeah.
hopefully
I'm looking
people.
forward to it.
I'm always good for criticism, so hopefully people give us some good criticism back, and as well as share the content. And hopefully this thing can just take off, and we can just keep talking fun. I mean, talking sports and have fun doing it.
Yeah, no, man, I enjoyed it. It's you hit the nail on the head. It's nice to be able to talk sports in it kind of sounds cliche, but like in a safe zone where
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you can just talk, man, and you know that that person, you know, has a lot of same like-mindedness, but as well they are, have their own thoughts. And you can do it freely, unbiased. You don't get that a lot in today's world.
yeah. Maybe one day we'll get some connects into a league and start getting some inside reports
Yeah,
and stuff. Maybe or not. It'll just be good that we don't have the inside track on stuff. We can just give stuff as unbiased as possible.
yeah,
Probably the thing I'm
100%.
least biased about is talking about the Chiefs, but it's more confidence than anything. But
Yeah,
I know that this magical ride we're on is not going to last forever. But
yep.
I can't fathom it coming to an end anytime soon. Primarily because of how the team is managed and ran, and how solid of a dude Patrick Mahomes is.
Yes. Yes, and I can attest to your unbiased towards the Chiefs. Being around you during football season and doing it all. And I mean, and how are you not a fan of Andy Reid? I mean,
Yeah,
the guy is just as bang up as they come.
yeah.
So yeah, man, now I'm looking forward to it, and I can't wait for the next one.
All right, brother. Well, it's good talking to you. Have a good rest of the evening, and
Yes,
we'll be
sir.
back in touch soon.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I'll give you a holler.
All right, brother.
All right, man. See ya.